Also start.
A very good evening and warm welcome to all the dignitaries present here. I am Momita from Clinic, serving as the elevator station assistant to ensure a seamless experience. Planet stands as India's most relied upon digital platform, offering a multitude of enriching services exclusively for doctors. It is with great pride that Planet serves as the digital partner for this event, hosted by the Indian Association of Preventive and Social Medicine, Karnataka chapter. And the focus of today's session is concept mapping and its application in medical education. So let's begin today's session, for which I would like to invite Dr. Animesh Chan, sir, to take over further. Over to you, sir.
So thank you, Momita. I hope I'm audible. Yeah. So hello, everyone, and welcome to this another session of IAPP, that is Inter-Institutional Academic Program for Postgraduates, initiative of the Karnataka chapter of IAPSM. We have been doing this for quite some time now, and you would have seen that almost monthly we have been coming up with interesting topics which are also offbeat, and we bring you these so that we can enrich our knowledge. And we have been reaching out to far and wide thanks to this Clarinet digital platform. So I would request, we have the president of the Karnataka chapter of IAPSM, Dr. Poonam Nayak, with us. So I would request her to give her opening remarks.
Thank you, Animesh. Very good evening to one and all, and welcome to another interesting academic session under the IAPP IAPSM Karnataka chapter. So I also take this opportunity to thank Dr. Nitin Joseph for accepting our invite and taking this session on concept mapping in medical education. It is definitely an interesting topic and would be of great importance for the budding professionals as medical educators and who would like to try out innovative methods in medical education and make this teaching learning more interesting, and that would be liked by the students as such and also would be useful for them. And I also take this opportunity to thank Dr. Animesh also, who has been consistently and taking regular efforts in conducting and coordinating every IPP session on a monthly basis. Thank you, Dr. Animesh, for that. And I welcome all to this IPP session. Thank you all.
So thank you, Dr. Poonam. Uh, Before I hand over to Dr. Nitin, it's my pleasure to actually introduce very briefly Dr. Nitin Joseph, who's been my colleague for a very long time, almost 17 years now. He is my colleague in the department, currently Associate Professor of Community Medicine at Kasturba Medical College, Mangalore. And he's been in this department, as I said, for almost nearly 17 years. His interests include, other than community medicine, he's very much passionate about research. He's been consistently getting research award at KMC, including the university most publication points for quite a few years. And he's also been awarded this year, if my memory serves right, I think this year earlier, May, he got a Good Teacher Award. And then he's been a Famer Fellow. And again, I will go with memory. He is very modest. Let me tell you that. I asked him for a CV. He said, "See why?" and all. And then I said, "Okay." He said, "You know me, and our rooms are just opposite each other." Okay. And earlier we were like just adjacent to each other. So he said, "You know me, so whatever you want, you can tell." I said, "Okay." So still, he's given me only 3-4 things, and he said, "No, just go ahead and talk." So he's interested in a lot of things, as I said, research and medical education. He's been a Famer Fellow, I think, 2014, and he was instrumental in starting the problem-based learning in our department. We have a couple of publications as well. And this was at the time when NMC or MCI at that time was not even warranting it as a mandatory thing. But then we had started thanks to his project and his efforts. We've done quite a few things. He's also done his postgraduate diploma in family medicine from CMC Vellore. He also contributes as a faculty there. And other than that, he is into our auditing and quality management. And then he's been an auditor for that for, I think, quite some time. I think probably at least 8 or 10 years. I'm not very sure, but yeah. And internal audits and meticulously documenting everything. Other than that, on his personal front, he's married to Dr. Maria, who's a professor of community medicine at AJ Institute of Medical Sciences. They are blessed with 2 children, one son and a daughter. And he is very interested in swimming as well as in playing guitar. So with that brief introduction, let me just hand it over to Dr. Nitin Joseph. The genesis of this is that he had done a workshop in our institute for 3 hours, and I thought that this was a couple of months back. So I thought that this was a session where we could actually come out with and then condense it into some short capsule and then share this knowledge, because he will not only tell us about this but also demonstrate a few of the online tools, how to use those tools for concept mapping. So it's not just for learning ourselves but also for our classes, or so this would be a good mix for even some faculty as well as for the postgraduate. So with that, over to you, Nitin. I hope I have done justice to your profile. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Animesh, for that sweet introduction of myself. And it was good to go back several years back to know that, to recollect the things which have really happened. So it was really nice to listen that. And before I start, I'd like to thank the organizers of this event, ClearNet and Mrs. Momita and the IAPSM Karnataka State Chapter, the President, Dr. Poonam Naik, Dr. Animesh Jain, Dr. Asha, etc., for giving me this opportunity to deliver this talk on concept mapping and its application in medical education. And I thank all the participants too who have joined us. Let me share the screen. So to begin with, let us get familiarized with what is concept maps. So concept maps is a device for representing the conceptual structure of a subject discipline in a pictorial form. Our mind actually learns well by linking concepts, and that is what exactly concept map does. So if you were to teach your students using concept maps, it becomes easier for them to assimilate the subject whichever is being taught. And as a postgraduate, whatever you have learned, if you have to reflect the same using concept maps, the retention will be better. And it makes learning too interesting because the human mind learns that way. How the information is presented in textbook is in a linear format, and that becomes more tougher for the mind to assimilate than the way it is presented in a concept map. So all tribute to the founder of concept maps, Sir Joseph Novak, and his team of researchers from the Cornell University, New York. And it has been over 50 years now since the concept of concept maps was introduced by them. So we need to apply this more so in our teaching learning to make the subject and whatever is learned more easier for the students to understand and make it more interesting for them. The following learning objectives are part of this session. First and foremost is we need to understand the various elements in a concept map and how in different ways we can create concept maps. And with this basic background knowledge, we will also discuss how it can be applied in various domains of medical education. And having had the basic theoretical information and the application of concept maps, we are at the right stage for creating a concept maps ourselves, which will be the last part of this session. So a learner who is using concept map follows the following strategies. First is the retrieval practice. One of the requirement for a learner or a teacher who is using concept map in teaching is there should be some prior knowledge regarding the topic which is being taught among the students or the audience. So under the retrieval practice, the students create a concept map based on their prior knowledge. They recollect the facts they know about the topic. And in the course of the class, as they gain more and more information by listening to what is being taught, they build upon that concept map which has been created. And new concepts get added. their existing concepts are linked with the newer concepts. That's how the links are established. In the process, the concept map gets elaborated. So concept map grows as your knowledge in that particular subject gets built on and on. So these two strategies are involved in making a concept map. Now let us study the anatomy of a concept map. Let us dissect a concept map and study the basic elements which are part of this concept map. So these are those elements: focus question, nodes, concepts, links, linking verbs, cross links, and proposition. So what are these? So here we come across ellipse, rectangles, squares. So these are called as nodes. So these shapes which you come across, ellipse, rectangle, square, these are called nodes. So we start the concept map, we create a concept map by first placing a node in which the focus question or theme or the main idea or the main concept is placed. And subsequently, other nodes are placed, and all these nodes are labeled with the concepts. So whatever you write within these nodes, they are called as concepts. And each of these nodes have to be connected with one another. In other words, we have to establish a connection with the concepts. And these connection between the nodes are called as links. And like how we label the nodes with the concepts, similarly, the links are also labeled using linking verb or linking phrases. And two nodes with its connection, the link, they form a basic unit of a concept map, which is known as proposition. And when we start establishing connection between two concepts of two different domains. So here you can see the nodes which are colored in cream color, light orange color, and there are nodes which are colored light green. So these have concepts in two different domains. And when you start establishing connection between concepts in two different domains, that becomes a cross-link. So when you're taking classes under integrated teaching, you get to see more of cross-links because you start establishing connection between concepts in different disciplines like basic sciences, clinical sciences. So you get cross-links. So this is the anatomical part of a concept map. Now, let us study the anatomy with an example, a simple example. Here the focus question is what are sandwiches? And my students are children from the kindergarten. So I want to explain them what are sandwiches with the help of a concept map. So in this concept map, I have three nodes. One is rectangular and two are squares. So the one containing the focus question is colored orange, and the other two nodes are colored pink and purple. Now I label these nodes. The one with the focus question is sandwiches, and the other two concepts, other two nodes are labeled with the concepts bread and people. Now I establish connection between sandwiches and bread using a link. And the direction of the connection is shown. Now I have to label the link the very same way how I have labeled the node. So the link is labeled with a verb or a phrase have. And another connection I establish between sandwich and people, and that I label it as feed. Now, in this example, there are two propositions. Sandwiches have bread, sandwiches feed people. So when we read a proposition, which is a basic unit in a concept map, we should be able to read it in a seemingly meaningful sentence. It may not be a proper sentence, but fair enough to understand the meaning. So This is how a concept map will appear, a simplest concept map which has been presented as an example. Now, having understood the anatomy of a concept map, let us now get well versed with the different types of concept maps. So we have spider map, flowchart, hierarchy map, and system map. Starting with the spider map, this resembles a spider sitting at the center with its cobweb. So the main idea or the focus question or the theme that is placed in the center within a node. And from this particular node, just like how the web of the spider radiates, the links are arranged in a similar pattern, branching off and ending with subtopics, which are again concepts which are placed in nodes. So these nodes are again arranged radially around the main topic. Very commonly, this is used for any brainstorming session. So this is how a spider map appears. The second type of concept map is flowchart. Now, flowchart are used when you're discussing a topic wherein there is a representation of a process or a workflow involved, meaning the various steps in that particular topic can be arranged in a chronological order with one idea leading to another. For example, I'm taking a class on protein synthesis within a cell. And here again, it follows a step-like pattern with the steps initiating in the nucleus of the cell and later on in the cytoplasm, finally ending with the protein synthesis in the ribosomes. So for such type of topic, flowchart can be used to make it easier for the students to understand. The third type is hierarchy map. So this type of concept maps are used when the concepts they follow a scale of importance. The concepts which are on the top are more general and broad, and as we progress downwards, the concepts becomes more concrete and specific. So here we are showing a relative importance of the concepts. So it can be well presented in a top-down manner using hierarchy map. For example, any classifications wherein the concepts shown on the top are more broad, and later on it becomes narrows down to more specific examples. Hierarchy map can be used. And even to remember this, we are just visualize this classification, makes us easy to write a long essay question. And finally, we have the system map, wherein the focus is not on the main idea or the theme, and there is no ranking order in the concepts, which certain concepts are very important over the other. Here, primarily the focus is on the relationship between the concepts. And system map can be used, and the nodes are connected to represent a system. For example, to summarize whatever has been said so far, I have presented concept map using a system map, which gives the background of what is concept map, who is the founder of concept map, and how it can be used, and how it benefits the students. So this is a system map which doesn't follow any particular shape, and the priority is given to the connections between the concepts placed in that respective nodes. Now, a small exercise for the participants. In the chat box, if you can type, you can label these concept maps. A stands for which type of concept map, so on, B, C, and D. If you can type in the chat box, please. Just to check whether you're familiar with the pattern of concept map. I hope the chat box is enabled to the participants. Okay, there is no clarity on that. So I'm not sure whether participants are allowed to use the chat box. Anyway, I'll give the answer. So as you can see, A represents a spider map with the main concept in the center and radiating out to the subtopics. B represents a hierarchy mapping with the concepts arranged in the order of importance in a top-down manner with the broader concepts in the top and more specific concepts arranged lower down. C represents a flowchart with concepts arranged in a step-like pattern, one leading to another. And D is the system mapping, which doesn't follow a particular pattern. So this will sum up the different types of concept. Now, proceeding further, let us get familiarized with the various stages involved in constructing a concept map. So the following stages passes by as you start making a concept map. We start with the focusing stage, followed by brainstorming, organizing, layout, linking, and revising stage. In the focusing stage, the focus is on the focus question or the theme or the main idea. How do we get this? So whichever topic you are planning to teach the students or which you are planning to learn, identify the specific learning objectives. That will help you to decide the main topic or the main idea. And once you start making the concept map, one more aspect you need to keep in mind is who are your audience? Who are the students who will be attending this class? What are their level of understanding of this topic? So that will give you an idea about the depth of coverage in the particular topic which is required. And after identifying the focus question, the second stage is the brainstorming stage. So in the brainstorming stage, you need to brainstorm with the others in your team who are given the task for making a concept map. If you are doing it solitarily, you need to think upon yourself and identify what are the concepts which are related to this topic and which needs to be put up on the concept map. Now, at this stage, there will be a lot of concerns in your mind whether this particular concept is relevant or irrelevant. But at this stage, you need not worry. Put up all the concepts, whichever you feel is somewhere related to the focus question. So all of these can be put up. And remember, so far you have not started actually drawing a map. You are still in the planning stage. And then comes the organizing stage, wherein you need to plan upon the placement of these concepts on the concept map. At this stage, you would also identified the suitable concept map for the topic which you are going to teach. Whether I am going to use a hierarchy map or whether a flow chart, a spider map, or a system map will be ideal. So that will help you to again place the concepts in the right pattern. And also at this stage, you can concepts which you had listed initially. And after the planning involved under the following stages, focusing, brainstorming, and organizing, now comes actually drawing your concept map under the layout stage. So here is when actually you start drawing it. So You please place the concept maps in appropriate locations. Place concepts which are closely related together and draw appropriate connections. Assess the connection, whether it is unidirectional or bidirectional, and use the appropriate links. And in the linking phase, start describing the links with the appropriate label or phrases. And when you make a proposition, check whether you are able to read a particular proposition in a seemingly meaningful sentence. Even though it may be poor grammatically, still the person reading your concept map should be able to get an idea what a particular proposition means. And ensure that all the concepts have to be connected. If a concept is not connected, it is as good as deleting that concept from the concept map. So all the concepts should have connections. Maybe one, maybe more than one, but at least one connection is essential. So at this stage, your concept map is complete. All the nodes and links are placed and all are being labeled. Nodes are labeled with the concepts and links are labeled with the linking word and phrases. And you are able to present the entire topic in the form of a concept map. Now, having completed the concept map is not the completion of the task as far as drawing a concept map is concerned. Drawing a concept map is an ongoing process and tends to get revised as and when your knowledge and understanding about the topic gets more and more. So whatever concept map which you have created, revisit it on a later date when your understanding of the topic becomes much more, and revise it. So minor revisions can be done by adding concepts and linking, but if you feel that major revisions are required, then you have to repeat the steps from brainstorming, organizing, layout, and linking to make a revised concept map. So remember, concept maps are always dynamic and are subjected to revisions with time. And that is why the revising stage is an ongoing process and is the last step of making concept map. Now, having given you a brief outline of what concept maps are, and let us now quickly analyze how concept maps can be made use of in medical education. So let us study this in three scenarios. One is before the class, during the class, and after the class. Even for postgraduates, I'm sure we'll be taking number of classes for the undergraduates, particularly the practical classes. So before the class, you can ask the students to make a concept map on a piece of paper, and randomly you can check the concept maps which have been made by the students. So remember, whenever you're giving this task, it should be for an audience who have some idea regarding the topic. That touches the first strategy of a concept map, which is retrieval stage. So based on the prior knowledge, the students start making the concept map. And one of the principle of health education is known to unknown. So by knowing for their level of understanding, you know exactly what are the aspects you need to cover upon in that class. Just randomly check the concept maps which have been created by students. You get to know their current level of understanding. Second, you also get to know any misconceptions they have regarding the topic by seeing the concept maps. So now you are in a position to address these issues as you start the class. Also, you can make their classroom learning an active process by giving them a list of concepts which will be covered during the class, and ask them to place the concepts in the right place with the right connections as and when you cover those concepts during the class. So all these aspects need to be done before the start of the class. And as you are delivering the class, now at appropriate intervals, you can pause and ask students to make a concept map till the aspects which are covered during the class. So you get an instantaneous feedback regarding their current understanding. And at various intervals of time, you get to know how their knowledge regarding the topic has grown. Initial 15 minutes, how much they understood. Next 15 minutes, what are the new connections they established in the concept map. So that assessment is also possible. And during the class, I'm sure you'll be using number of innovative teaching learning methods. And this has again become part of our competency-based medical education curriculum. So different methods of teaching learning blends well with concept maps. Let us quickly discuss how concept maps can be applied for each of these types of learning. For example, sequence lectures, wherein the faculty or postgraduate is asked to cover a particular topic over certain number of lectures. So for every topic which you are taking on a given day, ask the student to make a concept map, ask them to preserve the concept map and revise the concept map, elaborate it after they attend the next lecture. So in a sequential way, as the lecture progresses, you can see the growth in their knowledge. So sequence lecture concept maps gels very well. Blended learning, wherein we are using digital technology, a number of online courses are also available. So also in concept maps, from the traditional concept maps involving pen and paper, there are a number of digital tools also which are available to make concept maps. So digital concept maps gels very well with blended teaching involving online methods of teaching and learning. Integrated teaching, as discussed earlier, concept maps can be used well, and depending upon the extent of integration available, you get to see more of crosslinks in the concept maps which are being used. For an example of an integrated class on the topic infective endocarditis involving subjects anatomy, microbiology, pathology, and internal medicine. So in relation to anatomy, there are notes even in relation to histology. So entire infective endocarditis discussions under integrated teaching has been summarized with help of these concept maps. And as you can see, the number of crosslinks here between propositions. And forget classroom teaching alone, even in the bedside case presentation, concept maps can be used. So whatever case history, examination findings, investigations required, the entire case discussions, you can ask the students to sum it up using a concept map. So as you can see, at the beginning comes the history of presenting illness, which has been shown in the first. Next comes the examination findings, then the laboratory findings, and accordingly, how they narrow it down to the diagnosis, which is acute pericarditis. So starts with a 51-year-old male patient with chest pain, and the final diagnosis is acute pericarditis based upon the history, narrowed down to the examination, narrowed down to the investigation and its findings. So the entire thing has been summed up using a concept. Case-based learning exercises. The entire case scenario has been summed up using a concept map here. So gives the student a complete view of the entire case-based learning exercise. Concept map be used in problem-based learning. So PBL, as you know, involves the Maastricht 7-jump process in the traditional way how it is being conducted. But in this study done by Ade et al., published in Medical Teacher, they modified this PBL exercise using concept maps, using a 5-step process. And the 5-step process is in the following way: M1 phase followed by Q1, followed by M2, followed by Q2 and M3. In the M1 phase, a problem-based learning scenario was given to the students, and they have to present this PBL scenario in the form of a concept map. In the Q1 phase, the various issues which has been presented here as concepts in the M1 phase had to be explained with the help of questions. So they have to frame some questions for each of these issues to arrive at the hypothesis. So these were the questions they framed. And since, as a requirement for PBL, the topic is not told earlier to the students, so they hadn't come prepared. So few of these they could answer, few others they could not answer. So whichever they could answer and they felt it is right, they listed those hypotheses in the form of new nodes labeled with the concepts. As you can see, the nodes which are labeled with pink color, these are answers to some issues in the form of hypothesis. And there were some other issues, the questions of which they were unable to answer. So they formed the Q2 stage. Now, this formed the basis of framing the learning objectives, for which they did the 1-week private study, the self-directed learning phase of PBL, and they regrouped after 1 week, did the presentation session, and in the M3 stage, newer concepts were added, shown as nodes colored in dark green at the periphery. So, as you can see, how the concept map has grown, and it reflects the entire stages involved in the problem-based learning exercise. And now the students were able to solve the exercise, arrive at the right hypothesis, correct some of the mistakes involved during the brainstorming session of PBL, and have a better understanding of this particular PBL case scenario. So this is the feedback the students gave. They gave a positive feedback of using concept maps in PBL, and they also said that it promoted cognitive, metacognitive, and interpersonal skills development. Concept maps can be also used for blender lecture, wherein the students have an opportunity to critique, restructure, and present the correct version of the map. So all these things are the activities which you can do during the class, when the class is in progress. And the third stage of how it can be used in medical education is after the class as an assessment method. So here for postgraduates, it is not just for teaching the others, it can be used as a means for reflection also. So reflective learning. After listening to the class, what did you understand? So you can make a concept map before the class, and after the class, you can see what is your self-understanding of the topic. So can be used for reflection. And when you're taking a class, at the end of the class, the students can be tasked for making a concept map. And seeing that concept map, whichever they have made, you will get to know how much they understood the topic you covered. You can make it as an assessment exercise also for the students, and some marks also can be awarded. But for this, you may have to do a little bit of background work. You need to prepare such exercises with empty notes. So the task for the students is, after the class, they have to label the notes with the correct concepts. Or you can give them an exercise with the notes are labeled, but the links are not labeled. So the task given to the students is to label the links with the appropriate linking phrase or linking word. Or you can give them an exercise combination of the two. Some of the notes are empty and some of the links are not labeled. So this way you can assess the understanding of the student, and some marks can be given depending upon the completeness of the concept map exercise. But remember, this requires some amount of background work. You have to prepare this, you have to take required number of printouts, distributing to the students, and put some effort which is required by the facilitator. Or else you can just make it simple. Just ask the student to create a concept map at the end of the class and can be used as a summative assessment tool. Now, as you know, concept maps are a means for creativity in learning, and as an assessment tool, the concept map which has been created by the student, that also can be marked using a rubric. For every right concept, 1 mark can be given. For the correct connections and linking phrases, 1 mark can be given. For the right pattern of concept map which has been used for the topic, 5 marks can be given. For establishing cross-links using appropriate linking words, 10 marks can be given. And so on, marks can be awarded for the quality of concept maps which have been created by the students to make the concept maps interesting. And coming to the last stage of the theoretical aspects is the advantages and disadvantages of concept maps. So the advantages of concept maps has been summarized with help of a spider map, which clearly shows the various benefits and how it stimulates higher order learning by establishing connection between concepts and improves the problem solving skills and the critical thinking skills. And definitely it benefits the visual type of learners, but also is beneficial to the non-visual learners too, because it stimulates higher order of learning, and also collaborative learning can be another advantage of concept maps, wherein a group of students are given the task for making a concept map. They discuss among themselves, have a consensus on the right concepts which are to be placed, how the connections have to be established, how the concept map has to be presented, and each of the member can even teach the other member who are less familiar with the topic using concept maps. And the retention of information is better if concept maps are part of the learning, help in memorization, and for all the topics for which concept maps have been created, if it is written in a book, you can quickly revise the bulk of the subject by just revising the concept maps few hours prior to your university exams. And on a day-to-day basis, it also promotes self-reflection among the postgraduates. So if you're using it as a tool in a classroom teaching, interaction is good, discussion is good, blends well with various innovative teaching learning methods, stimulates active learning, a creative tool to support classroom teaching, and also gives you a quick understanding as a formative assessment of the student's current level of understanding and any misconceptions which have been developed. And above all, you just need a piece of paper and a pen to make a concept map. So it's a low-cost technology. Although a number of digital tools have come up to make it more attractive, but whenever there are constraints of facilities and resources, low-cost technology is an important advantage. But remember, concept maps are not without disadvantages. So as told earlier, students should have some prior understanding of the topic to start actually making a concept map. And some amount of training is required for them to actually make a concept map. Even though they have some understanding about the topic, they should have some idea regarding spatial organization of the concepts to make the connections. But if the same concept map, if the student is asked to make repeatedly, the creativity aspect may go down and memorization and rote learning may be promoted. So that could be a disadvantage. And as a formative assessment tool, if you are assessing the understanding of the student at different intervals of the class by making them to make a concept map, that is a time consuming process. So in a lesson plan, you have to set apart 10 to 15 minutes for making a concept map, which is given to the students. Much more difficult than doing a quick formative assessment by quizzing, asking randomly students some questions on the topic to check their understanding. And remember, concept maps may not be suitable for every topic. For example, the life cycle of the mosquitoes can be better taught using a diagrammatic presentation of the different stages rather than a concept map. And again, may not be suitable for all types of subjects like biostatistics, wherein the numerical aspects need to be shown. Concept maps may not be suitable. And if you are using digital type of concept maps, familiarity with the software is required, and not all are available for free use. And for slow learners, it may take some time for them to get used to concept maps. And if the concept maps created by experts are given to students, there may be information overload with several nodes and several concepts and the crosslinks, making it a little complicated. So with time, definitely every learner will find it interesting. So these are certain digital tools which are used for making concept maps. And I will use the first one, CMap, which is free to use, freely downloadable, user friendly for making concept maps. And I will have few-minute demonstration using CMap on creating the concept maps. All right, these are certain references which I used. I used some studies for different published literatures, and I thank you for your patient listening. And now I will be showing the demonstration using CMap. Any quick questions from your side before I start showing the demo?
I don't see any right now, Nitin, so you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Anmesh. So here, CMap I have downloaded already. All right. And this is the link to download the CMap. cmap.ihmc.us. IHMC stands for Institute for Human and Machine Cognition. So once I open the CMap, I click Control N. All right, a new page appears.
Nitin, are you on that screen where you're showing live? We are not seeing that screen. You will have to share that screen.
All right, I think now
we are seeing the PowerPoint screen, so you just switch.
All right. So I think I'll share my screen again.
Yes, yes.
Is it visible now?
Yeah, I can see some folder visible with wiki and all that, fat soluble vitamins and all.
Can you see this blank page?
I am seeing a folder where it is got like URLs to iWiki, fat soluble vitamins, HANA.
Oh, okay, I think still okay. All right, I think I'll stop sharing.
You'll have to show the page which you share, that particular page, the live page.
Is it visible now?
I think so. I can see query, 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 question mark, and
Ah,
question
correct,
mark.
right, correct.
Yes.
So what I've done is, after I opened CMAP, I opened a blank page. I double clicked on the page and this node appeared. Now this class is on classification of vitamins under the topic nutrition for the first year MBBS students. So my focus question is classification of vitamins. All right. So I label the node with the focus question vitamins. All right, as you can see here. Now, when I click that node, two arrows appear on the top. I drag one of those arrows down. All right. And link is established. I label the link with the linking verb classified as. All right. So broadly, I'm classifying it as fat soluble vitamins. And I click that linking verb, draw another arrow, and a new node appears. I label that node with one more concept, water soluble vitamins. All right. Now, fat soluble vitamins, I'm further classifying it in a similar way, dragging the arrow down. I label the link as classified as A, D, E, and K. Similarly, water soluble vitamins, I label the link as classified as B group and C. Now here I am using a hierarchy type of mapping because I feel for classification that will be ideal. Now let us get familiarized with certain features here. Now since it's a hierarchy mapping, I want the broader concepts to be at the same level. All right. So I click Control, select the two nodes. All right. Click Control T. The style palette appears. Click the object and I align them. Underline. See, align them to the top. So now they are arranged at the same level. Now I want to align the entire thing in a nice format. So for this, what I do is I click Control L, the auto layout. So I click Control L and I click hierarchical mapping and click generate new layout and OK. So as you can see, it has been well aligned, the concept maps. Now, as and when the concept map builds upon, certain nodes can be nested if they're related to a particular thing. For example, now I'm selecting all the nodes containing concepts showing examples of fat soluble vitamins. I have selected them, right click it, and nested node appears, I create. So two double arrow appears here, I click the double arrows and relabel it as examples. All right. So when I'm taking this class, if I click the double arrow here, the nested node appears with the examples. And suppose I want to detach it, again right click the nested node, go to nested node and detach children. And I delete that node containing the explanation and you get the detached nested node. Now, as and when I'm discussing an example of vitamin A under fat-soluble vitamins, I want to get the students to know more about the importance of vitamin A and the dangerous ocular manifestation of vitamin A deficiency, which can lead to blindness. Now, for this, I want to show the students some pictures of vitamin A deficiency. All right. So what I do is I go to internet, I identify a suitable page, suitable reliable literature, which shows the ocular manifestations of vitamin A deficiency. For example, Wiki is a suitable site which has some good photographs to show the students on vitamin A deficiency disorders. So what I do is I just copy the URL, all right, and I close that page. So I copied the URL, go back to my concept map. When I'm discussing vitamin A, as an example, I want to show some ocular manifestations. I right click on that node, and here you have the option add web address. So I put the resource name as iWiki, copy the web address, click OK. All right. And now when I'm taking the class, you can see a small box appears near the node. I click that box, I click iWiki, and the resource gets hyperlinked. So when I'm showing the concept map, the related resources which are hyperlinked also can be shown. All right. So the particular resource will appear here. So this is the resource. And as I'm discussing the classification of vitamin A, I want the students to be interested. So I can tell them if inadequate vitamin A is in the diet, the person can end up with these dangerous conditions which can lead to loss of vision. So this is known as hyperlink. And if I want to delete, I just click Control Z and it gets deleted. Another important thing is if I click vitamin A and if I right click, if I add info and say that it's an important question in Viva OC. Tomorrow vitamin A functions, sources, etc. will be asked. If I click OK, as and when I'm taking the class and when I hover around vitamin A, the pop-up will appear. See, important question in Viva OC. So I can re-emphasize this. And if I right click, if I click Control Z, I can undo it. So that gets removed. Similarly, you have given students the task for making concept maps and they have submitted their concept maps and you want to give them some feedback. For example, here you can see classified diet, there is spelling mistakes. B group vitamins, there is spelling mistakes. So what I do is I right click that node and I click annotate and I write kindly check your spellings. This is the feedbacks you are giving to the students who have been given that particular assignment. All right. Spellings rather. And I click this down score button. Now, when the student gets to see this, they don't know that some notes has been given by their teacher. So they double click the box and they get the feedback that they have to correct the spellings. So as and when they correct the spellings, it can be deleted by clicking the delete button. Now, if the student want to check all the spelling mistakes at one go, they have to just simply click the tools button here, and here you have got spellings. So it will identify the various spelling mistakes. So apart from B group, classified has also been spelled wrong. So they can check. So tools, spellings, all right? And under tools, there is another important feature known as presentation builder. So you click that, a new panel appears here. So what I need to do here is, I click the second second icon here on the top. All right. And I select the first node containing the focus question and I click the second icon again. Using the control button, I click the link and the linking verb and again click the second icon. I click the control button, click the links and the subsequent classification and add it to a new slide by clicking the second icon. And finally, I click the link, linking verb, the linking phrase, and add it again to a new slide by clicking the second icon. Now let us see how this comes in the presentation of the class. Go to the bottom of the panel. Here again, I click the second icon and I click the next button. So this is how the concept map unfolds, sequential unfolding of the concepts. So this way, the presentation can be made interesting for the students. Now, the concept map, if you want to give it as a notes with only the text aspect for the students, here in these three icons which you see here, click the second icon which is text format, CMap list view. Click that. You get all the concepts arranged in the list format and you can export it as a text by clicking this. Save it on your desktop and that you can mail it to the student as a text format. So that option is available. So only the entire concept map can be shared in the form of a linear text or an essay format. And if you click Control T, the style palette will appear. I want to do some changes here. For example, I want to do some editing of the concept, the main concept, which is vitamins, using the style palette. So I click that particular node, I click font. So whichever editing is happening is not for the node, but for the concept, which is vitamins. So here I have the option for changing the style. It is currently in Vardhana. I can go for show card Gothic style. I can make it more bold if I want to. I can make it italics. I can underline it. I can also add some colors to it. All right. So these are some changes. I can increase its size. Now I want to edit the node. So for that, select the node and click by the side of the font, there is object. I click that. And if I click the object, you can change the shape of the node. So I click the shape here. I will make it circular. I need to select it. See, it has become circular, ellipsoid rather. Then you can add a color to the node. So this is the shadow and this is the color to the node. So shadow has come, color to the node has come. If I click shadow, shadow comes. If I click color, color comes. If I click Control Z, it gets undone, right? And next is I want to edit the links. So this is a link here. So I click beside the font and object, the line, I click that, all right? And I can increase the thickness of the line. I can add a direction to the line. I can make it bi-directional line by clicking this. I can change the shape of the line. If I want a curved line, I can do that as required. And if I click Control Z, I can undo it. And If I want to make bidirectional the entire links, I click Control A, the entire thing gets selected, and I make it bidirectional. So throughout it becomes bidirectional. And finally, if I want to edit the background, I click beside line there is CMap. If I click that, I can edit the background. Suppose I want to give the entire background a color. All right. So I click the color button, cream color. So background can be done. If I click Control Z, it gets undone. So these are certain editing which is possible in the various anatomical or the elements of the CMap. And now whichever CMap or whichever concept map which I made, I want to mail it to somebody who is not having the CMap tool. So for that, I click File, I click Export CMap as, and here I want to export it as a web page. So if I click that, I can save it in my computer and mail it to another person. Even though the person doesn't have CMap installed, they can see the particular concept map which has been created. If I click File and save CMap using Control S, that will get added to my personal library here. Are you able to see this page? So here it gets added. All right. Hope you are able to see this page. Now, I also have the option of sharing this saved concept map in my CMap with another person who is sitting in USA. So they can also get to see. If I share in this globe, so in this globe, if I click shared CMap in places, if I click that, it gets saved in a folder which is created by IHMC, Institute of Human and Machine Cognition. So somebody sitting in US also can access provided their computer has got CMap installed. Similarly, I'm traveling tonight. I made a concept map. I want to work upon it in US. So when I go to US, I'm given a different computer. If I have the CMap installed, from the server, I can work upon that CMap. Also, an option of collaboration. Somebody else can collaborate with you using this particular feature. And you can also lock it so that others cannot edit it also, but they can only view it. So all these features are possible using concept map. I think with this, I should stop now and I shall get back to you for any questions or queries. I thank all of you who have joined us, and I really appreciate your patience for listening throughout. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitin. If there are any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat or unmute and speak and ask. There was in between, there was this thing that posed the previous slide. I don't know where exactly, so I'm not too sure. Anyway, as I've already written that this will be like it's already being recorded. This will be put up on the Karnataka IAPSM chapter YouTube channel after a couple of days. So you can always go there and then again have a look at this. Dr. Poonam, anything?
Yeah, so that was as we had assumed, it was definitely it was a very useful and an interesting session, Dr. Nitin. And I think though I had some idea about concept mapping and we had been using it for undergraduates, but I think the different tools which you have demonstrated, I think that was a value added component for me, I could say, because we were aware of only one particular tool that was being available. So I think this was definitely useful, and it would be, I would definitely disseminate it in our department as well for the benefit of all. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Nitin. Thank you. And thank you, Dr.
And
Animesh.
out of curiosity, I would like to know which tool you have been using for making concept map.
We have, uh, I do not recollect the exact word, but
Okay.
yeah. So there's a link which we have been usually share with the students, because in the
Okay.
first year itself, the Department of Physiology had been instrumental in using that. And so then thereby the students have been trained in using this. And so then when they come to our classes also, we had been using the same link that we had been giving to them. I think it's a mind map and something. I do not recollect the exact this thing. Yeah.
Thank you.
So if there are any questions, please feel free to ask. If not, I think it was quite exhaustive and he's given a demonstration. I'm sure that, of course, for some of you, it will be very difficult to follow everything on one view. But then I think you can always refer back. You can look at the recording and then try it out. Because once you try it out, you will get an idea and hang of it. It's like, with some practice, we get the hang of it and we get to be better with that.
And basically, students do learn, do enjoy using these tools when they have to do any such concept map or mind maps as such. Especially when NMC has made a self-directed learning hours mandatory. So during those sessions or long duration 2 hours of small group discussions, use of these concept maps and they themselves getting involved in this really helps a lot.
Right. True.
Just
So
one point from my side. This
yeah.
mind maps are not synonymous with concept maps. So mind maps are a different concepts. So in mind maps, it is more of subjectivity and individual perspective comes into play, and it is usually single layered. It resembles the spider map of concept maps with a single layer,
Right.
and the connections which are established, the links need not be explained using linking phrases. So we have the main theme, and it is connected to the subtopics which are arranged radially, and there is no direction in the links. They are just connected. So it's a simple way of presenting, and it is highly subjective. So concept maps gives better explanation with the linking phrases and different shapes, and it is much more multi-layered.
Yeah, so for our students, uh, we have been uh, we have been reaching till the level of mind maps presently. Yeah, so they are at that level. Yeah. So where after discussing a particular topic, we ask them to mind map it in a particular context. So basically, little more from a known concept to a little unknown concept, they move forward.
Nice. I think you can even sometime try, or maybe some of your colleagues, and you can try. I think this might be useful as well.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
So I don't see any questions. So I think if not, let's thank Dr. Nitin and of course the IAPS in Karnataka chapter and Dr. Poonam and Clarinet for partnering with us and providing us this platform. As we said that this will be this recording will be posted on YouTube channel in a couple of days, IAPS in Karnataka chapter. If you're interested, you can check out. We have already quite a few webinars earlier done and then they are posted there. And we will come back with something else again. So till then, take care and enjoy your week that is ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Animesh. Thank you, Dr. Nitin. Thank you, Clarinet team. And thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Asha. Thank you.
So we can close, Mamita. I'm not sure if she's there. I think we can leave.
That's what. Anybody from the Clarinet team? Yeah.
I think we can leave probably.
We can leave the meeting. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Animesh. In spite of your ill health, you managed it very well. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care of your health. Get well soon.
Sure. Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.